Friday, everybody. It's a wonderful day. Jim Williams here, along with the amazing Sean King, Amadeus, joining us from north of the border. Boys, um, our headline today is a sad one. One, I guess we all, you see it coming, but you don't want to believe it's coming, and that, of course, is the death at age 82 of Pele, the greatest of all time, the man who created the term "the beautiful game," and what an incredible legacy the man had. Frankly, I would say that probably he and Muhammad Ali were certainly in my lifetime the most recognizable, sports figures in this century and the last century, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, he scored a lot of goals. He's in movies, TV. I mean, he's kind of transcended everything. So, first kind of global superstar there for the sport. So,
And he never left. He never left Brazil to play for a team in England or big money in Europe, which was kind of unique at the time. And he certainly did a lot for expanding the game in the U.S. because, of course, he played in the NESL for the Cosmos. And watching Pele with the Cosmos was a definite treat, along with Giorgio Chinaglia, who himself was quite a talented man. So, at the age of 82, rest in peace, the GOAT, Pele, died yesterday of cancer, which evidently he's been battling for almost a year now. So we wish the soccer world loses an icon, no question about it. So moving from that headline to, go ahead, Amadeus, you did it earlier. Cowboys win. Come on, give us a Cowboys win.
Yeah, how about them Cowboys struggling to beat the third and fourth string Titans? So
right.
I don't know about this Cowboys team. Like it almost seems like they play up or down to their competition. They had the game where they blew the lead against Jacksonville. A game they were pretty much dominating the whole time, and then they let that one slip away. They had obviously the big game against the Eagles that they won. But again, you let the Eagles with Gardner Minshew stay neck and neck with you all night. And then there was just last night. They pulled away near the end when the Titans couldn't, hold them down anymore. But that was like 10-6 going into halftime. Come on. The Titans were in that game for 3 quarters.
And they didn't have been.
Yeah, that should have been like take a 20-point lead by halftime and rest some players, not let's fight tooth and nail to the very end just to try and get this win.
So they're trying to rest the players and they couldn't even do it.
Yep.
No, they couldn't even do that right. So yeah, it was underwhelming to say the least. Which is why I watched some college football, and let's start with the Alamo Bowl last night. Washington beats Texas. Guys, the way that Washington, they had a little trouble in the first half when things didn't get on point for them. But that second half, you got to look up and say that Michael Phoenix is going to be in the Heisman conversation in 2023 because the offense that they ran, which was an up-tempo offense, except for the fact that they were able to control the clock. It was fascinating to watch how they ran that offense.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Sean.
Oh no, I thought this team, all year the Pac-12 was pretty solid. Michael Penix, I think, was a little bit underrated. Now he's not going to be going into the next year. I mean, you see what he did over the course of the season here. He had what did he end up with? 4,641 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, which is pretty big stats there. So he's definitely, it's going to be next year. I think the Pac-12 could come into the season with a huge maybe 3 teams inside the top 10, top 5, whatever it is. I mean, I would think they're going to start the season pretty highly ranked. Texas, I just never understood it. I mean, they got all this hype this year. They were 8-5. I mean, it's the same thing with them. They're just like constantly begging this team to be good. They're ranked, even though they're 8-5. They almost beat Alabama, like the worst Alabama team in like 5 years. They lost to Texas Tech. They lost to Oklahoma State, who ended the season at like 500. They were 11th. They finished the season with like 6 losses and 7, so they weren't. Yeah, they almost beat TCU. Wow, they held TCU to 17 points. Like, I mean, you look at their wins. Kansas, who everybody thought was great at the beginning of the year, and they ended up terrible. Iowa State by 3, a terrible Oklahoma team that finished under 500, a terrible West Virginia team, UTSA, that they should beat every time, and Louisiana Monroe. So, I mean, I know they have all these play. They got Manning coming in and everything, and they're building, but they got to win. Like, they haven't done anything since Vince Young left.
Yeah, Vince was on the sidelines last night at the game. They could have used him. I know that they got Arch Manning, and Arch Manning ran up some serious numbers, but he's not Peyton Manning. You have to actually get on the field and play. And so far, Arch Manning, who was wooed by pretty much everybody in the country, we're gonna have to see. But the kid that played last night, Evers, the kid was he was a freshman as well. So I guess there's going to be quarterback competition. Sarkisian has never handled quarterbacks well. I don't understand that part of it, but it was a good game. It was fun to watch, and if for nothing else, watching Washington play. Now, I know this one was a good one for Sean, because what happened last night was FSU beat Oklahoma, and again, that was a fun one to watch. It went down to the wire, and Mike Norville maybe, just maybe, has the kind of team that is going to vault FSU back into prominence for both in the ACC and perhaps even, hopefully, on the national stage.
Yeah, finally. I mean, they had to rally there late in the third the third quarter. It was what was the score? 17.
They were down by 10. Yeah.
Yeah, 17-10 there at halftime, or sorry, 17-11 at halftime. But scored in the third quarter. And I thought that 2-point conversion was pretty big in the second quarter, because it gave them, when they scored that touchdown, they took the lead in the third quarter. Forced Oklahoma to go for 2, but fourth quarter was massive, 2 touchdowns, and that last minute field goal there. But when you look at what Jordan Travis did this year, 418 yards last night, but he ends the season with 3,200 yards, 24 touchdowns. I mean, since Jameis left, Heisman Trophy winner, when they won the national championship against Auburn, they really haven't had a stable player at quarterback. I mean, they've struggled to find. I think that's been one of their problems. They've had some good defensive players, but look, 10 wins is massive for this program. I mean, they've just been so bad for so long. I mean, and nobody's really cared. I've kind of like drifted away from, who cares, man? They're going 7-6 every year, but now they're top 10 team in the country, and they're going to come into next season with big hopes. I mean, they got to keep building. Look, Florida, if you're good in Florida, you're going to get players. It doesn't matter. They got players when they were a little bit down. So, if they're winning 10, 11 games a year, they're going to start competing with Alabama and some of these other programs.
The point that you made about them being down, that was Jimbo Fisher's revenge. He left the cupboard pretty bare when he left and went to Texas A&M, and that was because of the bitterness he had. And then
he seems to cause those. He seems to cause a lot of issues wherever he goes because Texas A&M stinks now too. And they paid a lot of for him, and they paid a lot of money for players.
They pay a lot of money to him. They paid him $100 million.
$100 million. They pay a lot of money to his players, and they were terrible this year. So, and he's causing a lot of issues over there. So, you know, maybe that's the thing. These guys always want to bounce to bigger and better places when, you know, sometimes it's not. You know, he when he was at Florida State, he was, you know, he made 2 straight playoffs. He won a national title. He had a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, you're doing well. You're a big school, and you know, I'm going to go to Texas. I never understood it. You're going to Texas A&M. What are you going to try to compete against Alabama? You can't. You're going to try to compete against LSU. You can't. You're going to try to compete against. You can't.
Yeah. Then he starts trash talking battle with Nick Saban, and it's like at that point you're saying, okay, this guy has a death wish. So it's just, I don't get it. I mean, he really whines everywhere he goes.
They're always going to be, I mean, they finished last. They're 2-6 in the SEC West, 5-7 on the year. But and that's with the winning their last 2. They were 3-7, but you're always going to be. There's 6 ranked teams in the SEC, and that's not including Kentucky, who was ranked all year, and Ole Miss, who was ranked all year. You're always going to be behind LSU and Alabama and Georgia at this point now, and obviously.
Well, and you've got Oklahoma and Texas coming.
Yeah, I never made any sense to me. I don't know. They're Texas A&M will never win. I mean, it's not that program. You left the ACC where you could be dominant. I mean, look what Clemson's done. I mean, it doesn't really take much to be dominant. So I just another bad decision by him.
And the hits keep coming for that boy, but no, he and Urban Meyer are my 2 least favorite coaches. Game today, interesting combination. Speaking of Alabama, they go to the Sugar Bowl and they'll play against Kansas State. This is one of those weird ones, right? I mean, Kansas State overachieved. Alabama didn't play up to expectations, but they're still Alabama.
I think this is the easiest game in the whole bowl to call. I mean, I think Alabama's going to annihilate them. This is Caleb Williams playing, Will Anderson's like these guys don't take to losing very well, and Nick Saban uses these games to hey, listen, man, don't forget about us. We should, and especially if Ohio State goes out and gets blown out by Georgia, tomorrow, or Sunday, he's going to be out there saying you guys put the wrong team in. We were clearly the 4th, they're probably the 2nd best team. Let's be honest, but they lost 2 games by a point. But I think he's going to use this as motivation for next year and make a huge statement because obviously, quarterback and Anderson and they're not coming back, but Bryce Young's going to the draft and these guys are all going to the draft and stuff like that. But they're there today and they're playing. So I think they annihilate Kansas State.
I don't think Kansas State has the. I mean, you can have this, and this is the way it usually works in college football. You can have 17, 18, 20 players who are good players. Alabama has 17 and 28 players on one squad. You guys had mentioned the other day about soccer where they can throw 3 different, combinations of tremendous players at you. Alabama's 70 deep. And that's because, and on that 70 deep team, on the 3rd string, there's 2 4-stars or 3 5-stars, or, there's guys who just didn't make the opening roster. So depth at Alabama is just ridiculous, and they can just keep running waves out there at you. So I don't, I think this is one of those ones where Saban is so pissed off that they didn't win that he's going to bury somebody, and Kansas State seems to be the leading candidate to get buried by Alabama.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you
I
know
agree.
what? This Kansas State team, the other thing is you're gonna have a pissed off Nick Saban who, the season didn't go the way they wanted to. So obviously they're gonna want to end the season right with a bowl win here. Kansas State, on the other hand, I mean, a bowl win would be nice, but you already got your big win. You beat TCU and won the Big 12 championship. You gave TCU their only loss so far. So that's a huge win for them and a huge step for their program. I think even if they obviously get blown out by Alabama here, it's something where it's like, you know what, we won the Big 12 this year. We took a big step. It's not like they're going to be left like, oh man, we got crushed in the Sugar Bowl. It doesn't matter to them. I think it's more they were more focused on that Big 12 championship.
Yeah, this is what we used to call in the business a picture taking session. You go up, you have your picture taken, against Alabama, then you quickly run to the bus and go home before they start, running the score up on you. So yeah, and it's at the Sugar Bowl, so that I don't know that Kansas State travels well, but there definitely going to be some people from the state of Alabama in there. So this we're talking about a home game for Alabama, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
pretty.
Yeah, pretty much. The Sun Bowl. This is one that comes up. It's on CBS this afternoon at 2:00, and that is UCLA at Pittsburgh. If I can get the graphic to come up there, there it is. DTR in UCLA has had, they've had a pretty good year. Chip has a relatively schizophrenic offense, but it seems to win. Pittsburgh's depleted. They've had some problems. They're a good team, but not a great team. And I don't know. What do you guys think of UCLA Pitt?
I mean, I would lean to UCLA here just because the line has actually moved a bit. It was around 7 yesterday. Now it's 8. But yeah, UCLA, they've been the better team all year. It's hard to imagine if they're going to have DTR and their running back there, Charbonnet, playing. It seems far fetched that they lose this game to Pittsburgh, especially when you've mentioned already on a few shows that Keaton Slovis not gonna be there for Pittsburgh next year. Came in for a season and was like, nope, don't like it. Time to
too
leave.
cold. Yeah, too cold. Yeah,
exactly right. So is he even playing in this game? I'm actually I'm not 100%
he's
sure.
in the portal. I think.
Yeah. Okay. So he's not playing. I don't know. Some of these guys. Like look at Grayson McCall. He played he knew he was going to the portal, but he decided to play in the game anyway because he pisses turquoise apparently. but whatever. I'll never.
That's a visual. Quote. That's a visual that will never get out of my head. Okay.
That came out of his mouth. I kid you not. You're gonna look up the quote at the beginning of the year. He was like, "Of course I'm staying at Coastal Carolina. I pissed turquoise," and then a year later you win an award. And what happened to pissing turquoise?
Maybe he meant to say he pissed on turquoise. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, he still played the game for the guys. So I guess that shows you how much he cared. Obviously, Keaton Slovis doesn't give a crap. So, yeah, it's hard to see, Pittsburgh. Now you got to throw a new quarterback in the mix, right, when you've been playing with the same guy all year. I find it hard to believe that they even put up a fight against UCLA.
They're probably looking in the other side of the building at Kenny Pickett and seeing if he has any eligibility left before.
Can we borrow you for a game?
Yeah,
just come
Kenny,
back.
you got some postgraduate work you're doing here. We'd love to have you back.
I think you need one more credit to graduate.
Right. Pretty sure you didn't finish that part. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be wild. I mean, I feel badly because Pitt has been, they've upped their game at, and been competitive for the last 3 or 4 years. So it's
well, that's why they went to go get Slovis, but he was like, nope. 1 year
And
is
I
too
don't see
much.
Slovis fitting at BYU. That just makes no sense whatsoever.
Talking about a guy who's three teams in 3 years.
Right.
He's clearly searching for something that he's not going to find, or it's going to be
Yeah.
very difficult for him to find the right fit.
You know, it was surprising last night in the Texas game. You saw Dylan Gabriel, who played for UCF, and you know, now he's running the offense. I'm sorry, did I Oklahoma? My apologies. At Oklahoma, and seems to be running it well. But
Yeah.
you
But
know,
you know,
that
as you've said, there's ways to use the transfer portal. Like we were talking
Right.
about Washington earlier. Well, look at Michael Penix. He went to Washington just for the coach because he's played in the system before, and
Right.
you know their offense was great all year. So you know that was the right decision, and they're probably only going to get better next year.
Well, we can hope that that's the case for them. And I think they will be. And that whole, you know, you've got, look at the quarterbacks that are in the Pac-12. I mean, my gosh, next year you've got the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. You got Felix. You got the kid at Cabe. Why am I blanking on it? The kid at Utah.
Cameron Rising.
Cameron Rising. You got
Bo
the
Nix.
kid. Bo Nix is at Oregon. You got the kid at Arizona, who everybody forgets, but he seems to be quite talented.
Yeah, you know, Jed Fish turned that team around. Really, they were terrible last year, and you know they actually scored some points this year.
Yeah,
I think what's his name, Jaden Delore, or something like that.
Yeah, and don't sleep on Oregon State. I mean, they went to the transfer portal and ended up with you know, Clemson's quarterback.
Which I mean, I kind of think it helps Clemson more than it helps Oregon
State.
Yeah,
probably. You know, it could.
Finally, we can get Klubnik out on the field. Who honestly, the offense, the few flashes you saw of Klubnik, like it just seemed like the offense was better. And Dabo stuck to his guns, but like, look where it got you. You haven't made the playoffs in 2 years now.
Yep, and you know, it's going to be interesting from that standpoint, but. Let's turn for the moment over to talk about a little bit that. Let me try to speak English. Turn things over to you guys as we get ready for what is going to be a pretty busy soccer weekend.
Yeah, it starts today. Really three. You know, Real Madrid's playing as well at 3:30 there. So, you know, 4 games in the championship, Real Madrid, 4 games in Spain, 2 games in England today. And then, you know, obviously the whole weekend is going to be packed with games and all over the place. So, but mostly here, League On and England. But what do you think about this slate of games here today, Amadeus?
Yeah, you know, I think it's a big game for Real Madrid today because, you know, they've had the extra week off, basically, that because their league is just coming back yesterday, really. And I think they've been sitting back and watching all these big Premier League teams like, you know, City, United, Newcastle, all these guys. They came out and absolutely obliterated their opponents. And then you see what PSG did, I think it was yesterday or the day before, but you see what PSG did, barely getting by Strasbourg, man. Something's wrong with them right now. I don't know what it is, but I think Real, he got a red card in that game too. Like what are you doing, man?
Yeah, they would have won that game easily. No.
But I think Real Madrid's going to look at that and like, you know, do we want to come out like PSG flat-footed, or do we want to come out like all these other strong Premier League teams that we're going to see in Champions League down the road? And do we want to come out and just get back on a roll like we were before? So, you know, Valladolid's not a great team. They're around middle of the table right now, but this is a newly promoted side. Like they were in La Liga 2 last year. I know they're at home where they've played actually pretty well this year, but you know, Benzema's back for Real Madrid. It's hard to see them. This is their first game back from the break. You would think they come out strong, like what we've seen from a lot of these powerhouse teams.
The thing that's interesting with Real Madrid right now is, you know, they have to. I'm trying to figure out where the Supercopa de España location is. I think it's in, I want to say Dubai. But
They're
they're
also
going to
2
have.
points behind Barcelona, which they got to worry about.
Yeah. So Saudi Arabia. All right. So, they play Valladolid on the road. Then they have a Copa del Rey round of 32 on Tuesday at Quetzalcoatl. They'll, obviously win that
They're
game.
going to
Then
throw
they
that
play.
away.
Then they'll play Villarreal on the road. Then they'll go to Saudi Arabia, Riyadh for the Super Cup de España. They play Valencia, and then I would assume Barcelona in the final. But you never, you can't really sometimes assume that because it never happens where it's Real Madrid and then they play Athletic Club Bilbao on the road. So they're right in the middle of basically 6 road matches, and that's all the way to January 22nd. They get Sociedad and Valencia at home on back-to-back days, 29th and February 2nd, and then they go to Morocco for the Club World Cup, and then they have the Champions League and all this other stuff. So these are interesting games. I think they want to win the league, obviously. So, you can't afford to drop points to teams like Valladolid, Villarreal, Athletic Club on the road here. They got to go through and win because, when you look at the table here, Barcelona is, once again, like you said, they're up by 2 points here. Barcelona only has 1 loss in the league. So does Real Madrid. Those 2 teams are well clear of everybody else. And, Barcelona maybe, because they're going into the Europa League playoffs and, I think they're probably going to try to target La Liga as well, obviously, since Real Madrid's won it a couple of times here. So, yeah, this is a big day for them. And then, obviously in the Premier League is, there's West Ham and Brentford. And, I'm just going to pull this table up quickly to show everybody. But, this West Ham team that everybody was talking about maybe making the Champions League here. I got to scroll all the way down here to find them.
They got to start moving their ass.
They're a point. Yeah, they're only a point out of the relegation zone, and really, I mean, they're 2 points off the bottom of the table at this point, and they're not like Leeds and some of the teams above them. They've played 16 games, so they're even with Everton. I mean, basically, the only reason they're not in 17th right now is because they've scored 1 more goal or 2 more goals. I mean, they have the same 1 more goal. Sorry, they have the same goal difference. -7 with Everton, and they're only a point behind Wolves, who, were the worst team in the world, before Lopetegui came in. So, I mean, that team is. Hey, look, but they won their group in the Europa Conference League. So that's actually, people are saying really that might be the lone reason that Moyes has a job right now. If they win the Conference League and get relegated, man, that'd be brutal. They'll be in the Europa League next year playing in Championship.
That would be I can't even imagine that. That would be terrible.
I can't. And these teams. I mean, when you look at these teams here, Bournemouth, Leeds, West, to me, I think Wolves will probably, with Lopetegui, if they bring a couple players in the transfer window, I think they'll probably. I would think they'll move up the table. I'm not sure they'll be safe, but I don't think they're the worst team of this group here. Nottingham Forest has signed about 8 million players. Southampton's in a lot of trouble, which there'll be a fire sale for those young players next year. Maybe United will be able to get some of them, but Everton, West Ham, Leeds, these teams aren't. Leicester, I would assume, will go up, although they look terrible, and they have a big game today against. You see the odds here. West Ham was actually plus money earlier. Liverpool at -385 now. These lines are going up like crazy, but I think it's an interesting 2 games here, and then obviously for Real Madrid. Jim, which game are you watching today? You're gonna watch a soccer though?
Yeah, I think we're gonna go. What was it? The Real Madrid game, right?
That would be my probably.
Valladolid and Real Madrid. I think that one's not 4. Are they still doing the 4 o'clock game? 3:45. Yeah.
3:45. Yeah.
So late.
Oh. Yeah, it's it's an interesting day though. I think West Ham should beat Brentford, but I just don't know. I mean, Brentford usually draws all these games. They have the most draws of any team.
I think this is a game West Ham has to come out in, right? Like they looked I know they got dominated by Arsenal, but they got the penalty in the first half. They were staying in the game somehow, and then they just fell apart in the second half. But dude, this is a team that pretty much threw away the first half of the season for their Conference League, which makes absolutely no sense because when you're a team like West Ham, yeah, it's great to win the Conference League, but you can't be throwing away your chance at staying in the Premier League just to win this new, competition that's third on the tier list. So I think they got to come out, I think.
I think they'll end the season. I think they'll probably find, they'll win enough games where they're going to be, if you look at the table again.
1 point above Everton in the relegation.
Yeah. If they get to 10 wins, if they win 6, how many draws do they have? They only have 2.
They're still missing Scamacca, I think, though.
Yeah, if they win 6 of their next, they have 22 games left. If they win 8 of 22, we'll be cautious there. I think they'll have. I would think they'll be. That's third. That's like 40 points. They'll be safe. Like I don't think they finish near the top half, but I don't. I think they'll end up somewhere around tier 11th, 12th, and then rebuild when they sell Declan Rice and stuff like that. But yeah, they're not. They're not very. The interesting game for me is that Liverpool-Leicester game because, Leicester got embarrassed the other day. Liverpool now signing players. Lost out on Enzo Fernandez, though. Chelsea's going to sign him, it looks like, this morning. Chelsea's that guy's already spent about $500 million. Todd Bowley's just coming in, just buying everybody. But it's like still a weird team. He makes them better, obviously, but they need someone to score goals like that. They're like United right now. United's goal difference right now is +3. Chelsea's is +2. Everybody around United is Liverpool's +13 behind him. Tottenham's +10. I think soon they'll start to catch Tottenham. If
Liverpool's +13 because 9-1 win over Bournemouth. Take that away and not that great.
But yeah, you start looking at the teams above them. Newcastle +21. United's just they've allowed 2. The first 2 games kind of killed their goal difference as well. Like when you're playing Lindelof and Harry Maguire. Now they have actual center backs that can play that play for World Cup champions and stuff. So.
How is Maguire even a starter on England? Can someone explain that to me?
He plays well for them in that system, I guess. But he's just
must be Southgate.
Yeah, it sucks because he's a United fan and stuff, and you kind of want him to do well, but there's no future there. Luke Shaw came in one day and looked better. It's clearly going to be Lisandro Martinez and. Rafa Varane when he's healthy. I think they could kind of, he's a good third guy, to rotate. You need those guys, but City has that kind of thing. But yeah, he's not gonna. They need to get better players going forward, which they will as soon as they're
defense mainly. That's really, but you're gonna have a better defense with Martinez and Varane.
Right.
They're just injured right now.
Right back is an issue, Dalot, he's been a lot better, but Wan-Bissaka, he's not, a thing. But yeah, they'll Luke Shaw and Malacia, but they also, since Casemiro's come in, he's been good, obviously. So.
Are you worried about tomorrow on the road against the Wolves?
You know what? I'm less worried now because Lopetegui's probably going to try to play. If they're able to play, I think that's a little bit better. I'd like to see, who comes back in with the lineup. You know, we need I need somebody to score a goal. I mean, I know we did. Rashford had the goal. It's tough. I mean, I'd almost maybe start Garnacho up top in some of these games, maybe as part of a 4-3-3. Garnacho in the middle, Rashford on the left, and whoever on the right, Anthony or whatever. But it's. Let me look at this live score.
You guys are still minus 110, which is just crazy.
Yeah, because Wolves are, Wolves are, they got Diego Costa, Neves. The lineup's not terrible. You got, for us, Bruno Fernandes has played well. I just don't know, if Sancho's still out. We got a lot of guys out right now. That's the other problem. I would just, if we can just win this game.
But see, the thing I think with your team that they were lacking in previous years, now you have Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes, two guys we saw in the World Cup were absolutely just game changers for their team. And I think that's going to be the thing with United going forward is, Fernandes is going to be a real star. He is really good. So, you guys, and especially with Casemiro there, you guys have a very, very solid midfield right now.
The other thing too is, I mean, if you look through, the people out on loan, which is, hasn't been really successful for the last 6-7 years here. Ahmad is tearing it up at Sunderland. Hannibal Medri's tearing it up at Birmingham City, crunching into everybody. Alvaro Fernandez is playing well at left back. I mean, we got all these guys on loan that are going to come in. We just have to get rid of these guys like Donny van der Beek. Christian Eriksen's been very good, but they're running him into the ground. People like this Alanga guy. I don't really like him. Anthony, he does a lot of stuff, but he doesn't get in the score sheet. They need an upgrade on Martial. Martial sometimes is good out on the left where Rashford is. Obviously Garnacho is going to be a superstar, but they, Zidane Iqbal's coming in. They have some players. They just got to unload some of these guys, and that all this stuff is going to come when the next owners come in. If Dubai, whoever it is, they're going to, I would hope, clear out some of these. Hey, look, man, if it's Dubai, we don't need, just sell them for whatever. Get 8 pennies back if you can. Just bring in. Just get this squad better because we have, once again, there's players coming through that we have really, really good. Willie Kambwala, and there's very good players coming through. So that's 2 years away.
Yeah, I was reading in Sports Business Journal yesterday that they expect the sell of the team be finalized either the last week of January or early into February. But they also said that they were. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think they know who's buying the team at this point.
Yeah. The other thing that they said in the short term is that United will be renting players. Basically, they'll be taking on loans as opposed to actually signing some players, at least for the near term.
They need to find. Yeah,
whoever's on loan available. That's where they're looking at this point.
They need a 9 on loan. That's basically what it is. They're looking at Murata.
Where are you going to find one?
I mean, João Felix is out there. Nobody's. They're not. He's not exactly a 9, to be honest, though. No, and that's the problem. They're not the easiest players to find. I think they would have went for Ivan Toney if he wasn't under suspicion, under the charges of betting on 300 games or whatever. So he's going to get a long suspension. They've tried it in the past with the Gallos. He's just not a guy. There's just not that market right now. They don't want to spend anybody. They're not trying to. You're not getting Victor Osimhen right now because Napoli has a chance to win the Champions League. You're not getting the only way that Chelsea's getting Enzo Fernandez from Benfica right now is they're paying 130 million euros. Like that's the only way it's going to happen. Like Benfica's in the, now all of a sudden now Benfica and then Bruges, then that, if they lose Fernandez, wow, that makes, but Benfica's getting, they just bought him last year for 30 million. They made 100 million in profit in, 1 year. So, they're hard to find that, there's not a market for the better guys are, locked up right now.
Well, if they've already unloaded Fernandez, I know they're in Champions League, but you got to think that teams are going to be coming for Ramos too. I know your team was looking at Ramos, and that might be the guy you need.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to buy anybody. They're clearly not buying anybody until the new owners come in. Like that's what I'm saying. The new ownership is close. Hopefully it happens, in the middle of January. So maybe they do, find a player or whatever, but they'll regroup in the summer. They just have to any way possible. Like their squad is pretty good. Like they just have any way possible. Just have just make the top four. Just do any, I'd say win the Europa League, but they got Barcelona, which I don't, Barcelona is pretty good, but they're not, prime Barcelona. So, they still have a chance, I think, in that tie. But just find a way, if it is, get Morata if you have to, he wasn't terrible in the World Cup, get him to just hold the ball up. The Manchester United's Bruno, like you said, Christian Eriksen, Casemiro, Rashford scoring goals, Garnacho, whoever's on Anthony doing stuff. These guys all do stuff, Martial can score. They just need a guy that can hold the play up and let all the other people do that. They just don't have that. Sometimes Martial doesn't do that. Like if they could just get somebody to do that for the rest of the season to get through the season and get us into the top four somehow, and then the new owners could just go crazy in the summer because financial fair play doesn't United doesn't have to worry about that. They first of all they haven't spent any money in the last few years. They're never they're not like Everton where they're minus 300 million or whatever. They also bring in billions and billions of dollars of revenue, so they could just go spend whatever they if they Kylian Mbappe, okay. Whatever these guys so they'll be in for all these guys if it's taken over by Dubai or something like that. If it's
what about as a Band-Aid, or is it possible to get Gakpo?
To who?
I said, in the short term, is it possible that they may take a look at Gakpo?
The guy from Netherlands?
Cody Gakpo.
No, he signed with Liverpool.
Oh, he did. My apologies.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, Liverpool signed him. Look,
they jumped right on him literally the first day.
They could look, and clearly they're switched. United clearly United all they were offered to Pitch. It's clear that United was offered him first, and United passed.
Right.
I think they didn't want it. They didn't know what his position is. He's not a 9. Right. He's more of a winger. Which from the left sided winger that cuts in, which United has 15 of. They don't really need. They have Garnacho. They have Rashford and Garnacho. You're not. I would rather they don't. Rashford's better than Gakpo. Let's be honest. And Garnacho is 18 and is going to be a superstar. So I don't really need that blocked. But they could have, but that's they putting it that's a long-term deal. It didn't cost that much, but I just think they maybe they're looking at better options. Osimhen, Mbappe.
So you're saying they're looking long-term and not necessarily a Band-Aid to get them through the.
Right now they need a Band-Aid.
Months.
I think right now they just need a Band-Aid. That's the loan thing is just to get through because in the summer if the new owner has any kind of money, he's going to spend his own money. So they're going to go after I mean, it's clear if it's a city state, it's clear they'll go after, Mbappe, and I don't know if they're signing Mbappe, but they're going to go after these type of players. I mean, Benzema would be great, but it's short term. But he's actually out of contract here, so for Real Madrid. So maybe in the summer that would be pretty interesting.
What about the standpoint of how difficult is it going to be for them to stay up there near the top 3 or 4 of the league?
Oh, I don't think it's going to be difficult. I mean, look, I don't know who's pull this up.
I guess my point is, can they get by without, adding?
Birthday, buddy! It's Luke's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Luke!
Happy birthday!
Hey, happy birthday, Luke!
Birthday.
We would sing. Amadeus and I would sing, but I'm afraid it would scare him. So
you don't want to hear me sing.
Yeah, when you look at the top, to me, Arsenal, City, Newcastle are probably locked into the top 3. I think Newcastle. I still want to see Newcastle what they do, in a little bit of a title race. Not, they're kind of around the title race, but they have. Let's see what they do. In January, back to back.
That's a rough schedule for Tottenham.
Yeah, Newcastle fixtures. Let me see. Newcastle has Arsenal. Then I think it gets. Where does it get harder here? In February, you got Liverpool, Brighton, City, Wolves, who's better. Manchester United, they're in a run down the stretch that I think they'll be all right. They have Arsenal and Leeds, but I'd like to see what they can do in a race here, in a top 4 race. You said Tottenham. To me, Tottenham would be the one that is the likely candidate to maybe drop out. This is a massive game. I mean, 2 games in 4 days, 5 days right here. Arsenal and Spurs. That, and then Fulham. This is an 8-day stretch where you're going to go, on the road to play Fulham, which is, Fulham right now is pretty good. And then you got Manchester City again. So you got Manchester. I don't know how this happened, but you got Manchester City twice. So you got Arsenal at home, rivalry, Man City away, Fulham away, City at home, or then you got Leicester, West Ham, Chelsea, which is a huge game. But I think right here is their season.
That 4-game stretch.
If they go, if they take 1 point from those 4 games, which is a possibility. Arsenal is the best, could be the best team in the league. City could tank them twice, and Fulham isn't a pushover right now.
Fulham scores. And the Spurs are bad on the road. They give up goals. So that I'd be very worried about that match.
So, I think, for United, United plays City in there too, and United has all the other stuff going on. But, and they're still, they're 4 points clear of Liverpool. Liverpool's going to have a lot of other stuff going on as well. Brighton's not going to finish in the top 4. Let's be honest. I don't think Chelsea is going to have enough right now. They're 24 points, a point behind Liverpool. If you're asking me which team of those outside of the top 5 has the best chance, I'd say Liverpool, and they have the best odds as well. If people just think Liverpool is going to kind of come back and do it, I don't know if they will turn it on, but we'll see. But maybe it's these 3 teams for 3 spots. But Newcastle, once again, if Manchester United wins its game in hand, they're 1 point back on Newcastle. So I think it's that's why it's so everybody else is strengthening. I've seen this happen a million times. Everybody's strengthening in January, and United doesn't. We don't have money. We don't have money. We don't have money because all the money's going out, and they miss out on top 4. Well, if you bring in, a midfield replacement and, a 9, maybe you do. So that's the key, I think, to me.
Going to be an interesting situation from that standpoint, and coming very soon. We'll start doing some Saturday live games and keep people posted on what's going on. Amadeus, from your standpoint, what's going on in the Italian league?
In the Italian league, honestly, I haven't even looked at when did they come back this weekend? Next week on
next week, I think
Wednesday. Yeah, January 4th they come back. So like I said, my Italians, we're lazy people. We like to take an extra week at the beginning of the season when England and France start. We're the week later. And then we like to take I'm not joking. Like I've been to Italy. The city or the whole country shuts down from noon to like 4 because it's so hot. It's the siesta, they call it.
Right.
So like you eat lunch and then you go to sleep, and then the country reopens from like 5 to midnight.
I mean, Napoli's 8 clear of AC Milan right now. Napoli hasn't lost. They're 13 wins, 2 draws in the first 15 matches. I mean, still look, there's 23 matches left, but 10 clear of Juventus. Juventus all of a sudden now they were pretty bad for a while now. They've only allowed 7 goals. They're back in the top 4. Lazio, Inter, Atalanta,
that's the thing,
Roma.
right? They don't give up goals, but I still don't think Juventus is a good team. They lack the ability to score goals. They can't get points on the road. That's their issue.
Yeah, probably a 2-way race between Napoli and AC Milan. I think. I think Napoli's clearly going to come back. But look, the further they go in the Champions League, the better it is for the teams in Serie A because they're going to have to keep playing those midweek matches. But yeah, they're very talented.
I think Napoli's the team to beat, but you never know. They could get picked apart in this January transfer window if people come knocking with enough money. You never know. So we'll see. I doubt it because they're in Champions League and they like won their group pretty much. So they've been really good. I don't see them selling players until at least the summer, but you never know. Crazier things have happened if they sell some players, like someone comes for Osimhen or whatever, they could drop. But right now, Napoli's the team to beat in Italy.
Where, from a standpoint of selling, where do you expect there's going to be the most action?
I would think probably in the summer. As Sean said, January is more of like it's like a restocking time, right? You look at what your need, you look at where you are in the table, you look at your needs, and you just try to like Band-Aid patch fix things until you can get to the summertime where you really, bolster your lineup.
Right.
I feel like it's more for teams at the bottom of the table, to be honest, because they're trying to stay in the Premier League. Like Manchester City, they don't really need. They might. They're buying that guy from Villa Sarsfield or something for $8 million, but he's for the future. Like they're buying guys for the future, but Liverpool, Gakpo, maybe they need him now because players are injured. I would expect Newcastle to maybe do some stuff because they're going to maybe try to consolidate top 4, and they're obviously more. They have unlimited funds. So look, it's I think there'll be some movement, but I think next summer is going to be absolutely. Jude Bellingham may go to Real Madrid if they pay the buyout right now to Dortmund, so that would be pretty big. But Enzo Fernandez, obviously the Chelsea's buying. Like at some point, I think that financial fair play is going to come into play. You can't just buy $600 million worth of players and with limited revenue coming in. So I think that'll be interesting.
And the other thing is, like with these players like Mbappe and Benzema, as bad as Mbappe wants to leave PSG, they're not going to leave in the middle of the season. Their teams are in Champions League, right? Like we're on to the next round. Your team is doing at the top of the table. Like it makes no sense really to leave in the middle of the season for a better team, quote unquote, that's probably, likely the same skill as the team you're on when you're a player like Mbappe or Benzema. It makes more sense to, finish the season out, see what we did. If we won, maybe I stay. If we couldn't win again, I'll go somewhere else.
That's right. Yep.
So the key here is, I mean, why would you want to leave when you're in the throes of a possible title, Champions League title?
Money?
Exactly. Like as much as Mbappe, well,
He
there's
doesn't
money
need money,
too.
though.
But yeah, as bad as like Mbappe wants to leave PSG or be on or Real Madrid or whatever, like you're in Champions League right now. You're leading the French table. Go win another title. See if you can win the Champions League. And if you don't win the Champions League, then yeah, maybe it's time for a change, right? But maybe they go and win the Champions League, and now you want to stay at PSG. You know what I mean? Or also, there's other things too. Like I know he probably wants Messi gone. Everybody thought Messi was linked to Miami. Now Messi's saying he wants to stay in PSG. So, who knows what's going to happen. But, these aren't moves that will likely happen in the summertime, I think.
Yeah.
So, in Mbappe's case, is it because he's upset with management? What's the underlying reason that he wants out of PSG?
He wants to be the number 9.
Yeah, he wants to be the 9. He was supposed to go to Real Madrid, and PSG gave him $350 million signing bonus, and I think he came back, and they offered him some stuff, and then maybe he thinks they reneged on some of the stuff, Messi and some of the other things. I mean, he wants to win, I think, ultimately, but he's making money, so he's gonna, but Real Madrid will be giving him the same amount of money, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, there you go, boys and girls. So, all right. Any final thoughts here, guys, before we get up? By the way, time for some shameless plugs. Sean, tell people where they can get your information, and then Amadeus, it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm on NJ.com, and go to my Twitter at the Prodigal Sean there. You can see, and we'll have, make sure you're watching our live watch along party tomorrow night. 8:00, come back and join us. It'd be great. We're gonna be a lot of people here. Sling TV, thank you, and all of that. So,
yeah, we're gonna tomorrow night. We're going to have fun. We're gonna put on our tuxedos, and no, not quite, but we're gonna get together for a nice opportunity to sit down and smack talk our way through Ohio State and Georgia, which has all the earmarks of a classic football game. We're going to see how good CJ Stroud is.
Yep.
Because I can guarantee you that Kirby Smart's defense is going to be ready. So we'll see, but no, it's a fun time. We've had some of these wonderful live reactions and such, and who knows? We've got a cast of characters coming on to join us. Some of them might actually even be betting in the middle of the game. So they definitely like their in-game betting. So that's something, if you're into that, we have some people coming over tomorrow who clearly know how to do that. And not to mention the two boys on the show do. So in-game betting is an interesting thing, and we'll see how that plays out. But if you just want to watch the game and smack talk with us about how your team's doing better than the other, or offer your analysis, we're certainly here to help. So we're not the government, but we are here to help. So it'll be fun, and we will push out a lot of social media between now and tomorrow night, and hopefully join us on Twitch, join us on YouTube. So by all means, however you get to us. It'll be fun tomorrow night, we promise. All right, boys. Any final thoughts as we get out of here? And then we'll see everybody tomorrow evening.
Oh.
All right. Amadeus?
No, you can get my picks, I guess, at pickadvisor.com and bigal.com, and make sure you tune in tomorrow for the watch party.
There you go. Shameless plugs done. Time to get out of here. You guys have a great weekend, and we will see you tomorrow night.